In the heart of the state-of-the-art, at the dawn of the next stage in entertainment, you found NoPro.
You have indeed found NoPro, the voice of everything immersive. I'm your host, Noah Nelson, and welcome to episode 391. This week on the show, Evan Neiden, the founder of Candle House Collective, the makers of telephone-based experiences like the award-winning Claws and the serialized Lennox Mutual, is here. Evan and I go one-on-one in this episode, but keep your ears on the feed for some bonus material soon that features a deep dive with the review crew and the Candle House Collective on Lennox Mutual. But before we get into today's episode, we've got a fun announcement about our first pillar sponsor for the Next Stage Immersive Summit coming up at the top of June, yes, June 2nd through 4th here in Los Angeles. Now, for as long as there have been gatherings of the immersive creative community, MutualThe, the arts and entertainment company based in Santa Fe, New Mexico, whose mission is to inspire creativity through art exploration and play, have been there as an incredible ally and cheerleader. We are excited to announce that MutualThe has come aboard as our first pillar sponsor for the 2023 Next Stage Immersive Summit, sponsoring the sessions that build on the next generation of creators and audiences pillar. This year's Pillar Sessions will take badge holders on a journey through the cutting edge and emerging trends in immersive and experiential work, from innovations in immersive gaming to how the next generation of artists is being trained. Through this sponsorship, MutualThe is once again playing a big role in bringing our summit to life, making it possible for us to gather the dynamic voices who will be part of our weekend-long conversation that will shape the future of immersive art and entertainment. Our attendees will also have a chance to talk with members of MutualThe's narrative team, as well as the company's Vice President of Social and Environmental Impact. We're proud to work alongside MutualThe in order to bring you this next great gathering of the immersive creative community. Badges are on sale now, and the supply, it's dwindling. So act now before they are gone. All right. It's also time for a rather significant Patreon update, one that starts with bad news and then swiftly turns good. We slipped below the 3K a month mark, that not so magical number that is keeping a roof over my head, gas in the tank, and the creditors at bay. That happened earlier this week, and so we put an emergency shout out, and folks really stepped up to answer the call. We have new and returning backers this time: Steph Parita, Matt Kieser, Rachel Ginsberg, Megan Westerby, and Quinn Leary. We had pledge bumps from Toshi Hu, Alex Coulombe, Caro Murphy, and the Ministry of Peculiarities, and even a brand new sustaining backer in the form of Kurt Collins, an old colleague of mine who I'm really honored has jumped in at that level. This has stabilized the patient, being me, and put us at 429 backers and $3,078 a month, which keeps the thought of putting the newsletter behind a paywall out of mind. Look, as little as $2 a month makes a difference to us. Indeed, we fell below by $2, so that triggered all of this. So it really makes a difference. Hitting us up at patreon.com/NoProscenium not only powers the podcast and websites for NoPro and everything immersive, it also gets you into our member-only Discord. In fact, we've started scheduling backer-only and professional hangouts in the Discord, weaving together our community a little tighter over coffee, something I'm getting myself up early to wake up for. I wrote that one way, I read it another way, and I said it a whole third way. If you are already a backer, don't forget to link your Patreon account to Discord and drop a review on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice, and share the articles you find useful on your social media platform of choice. It helps. It really helps. We are always No Proscenium, except on Insta, where we are No_Proscenium. As always, big thanks to our sustaining backers. And I got to take a breath here. Samuel Mystery, Chris Woolman, Samantha Davison, Eric Shamlin, Elaine, Daryl, John Boulette, Jay Bushman, Jerome Joseph Gentis, Tom Leonetti Maguire, Kurt Collins, Winthorne, Ryan, David Bassick, Richard Ayers, Lonnie Hands-On, Lecker LeCool, the Ministry of Peculiarities, and Jan Budman. Thank you all. I wouldn't be here without you. We're also on the lookout for community partners who are up for working out special deals for our backers. Hit me up at noah@noproscenium.com for details. I'll probably get to it in June because of how wild everything is right now. And on that note, let's get into the show. Fresh off a run of a remastered edition of the award-winning Claws at the Overlook Film Festival comes Evan Neiden, the artistic director of Candle House Collective. Candle House is known for creating intense, intimate work, often delivered over the phone, something they've been doing for years now, and have even developed the Firestarter initiative, where they have helped emerging artists find their own voices in this unique format. Evan is here with us today to talk about that and the ongoing Lennox Mutual, a serialized experience of sorts that is often the talk of NoPro review crew meetups. Evan, thanks for taking the time again to talk to us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to get into it.
So you were just kind of at the Overlook Film Festival, as we were talking about beforehand, delivering Claws. For those who don't know Claws, what's the elevator pitch here on that show?
So Claws is a telephonic thriller that we've been running for about 3 years now. That is a one-on-one experience performed live over, as the subtitle suggests, a phone call. Following an encounter that a 16-year-old kid named Danny has with a monster that he's trapped in his closet. The twist, the monster looks and sounds just like him. And as time goes on and you learn more and more about the situation, it becomes less and less clear which side of the closet door the danger is really on.
This, you mentioned you've been running this for a few years now, and you got invited over to the Overlook, which was in New Orleans last week as we're recording this. I think it'll be like maybe 2 weeks out since when this lands. How'd that come about? How'd that connection to doing it for the film festival folks?
Yeah, so we'd been chatting with the folks at Overlook for a couple years actually. The last time we did, don't quote me on this, but I think the last time that we did was setting up for the 2020 Overlook, which, I don't know. But obviously that couldn't pan out as planned. And then from there, it was something that we connected about in 2021, and then before this year's. And finally, Brian Bishop reached out, who the Immersive curator for this year, and who I think you had on the podcast a few weeks ago, and asked if we'd be interested in bringing something to the festival. And for a while, we were trying to figure out what that was, but the inevitable answer was, we have this horror piece that's been running forever, and Overlook is a horror festival. It was kind of a perfect match.
And this is not the memory serves, not the first time you've done Claws in the context of a festival, right?
No, so this will be the fourth time. So it first went to 5 R's, where I think it won People's Choice for Best Interactive. And then went to Indiecade, and won another award from that. We went to Lonely Wolf, and then most recently, Overlook.
Oh, what's Lonely Wolf? I don't actually know.
Lonely Wolf Film Festival is a more traditional film festival, but they have a really
like a non-genre film festival.
Yeah. But they have a really vibrant category for new media. A lot of the stuff that got nominated was really, really, really cool. So that was sort of the niche we filled and ended up snagging an award for.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you'll have to shoot me the information on that, because I'm always on the lookout for there's a couple of film festivals that have this category. I mean, obviously some of the bigs, Tribeca. Longtime Sundance was doing, the New Frontier. I don't no longer know what the status is on that. And then there are a couple others. Overlook's been great. And then like Landon Zackheim was one of the founders of Overlook, also programs at the Denver Film Festival for immersive and interactive work. But yeah, every time I hear about a new one, I'm like, oh yeah, get that on our radar. We can send people their way. It's what we live for. Shifting gears for a second here, mentioned Firestarter initiative at the top of this interview. And this is something I'm really excited that you're doing because, you know, as things go, you're a pretty young company, right? Like compared to like other immersive companies are kind of like, you know, almost long in the tooth here, right? You know, like there are immersive companies like max out at like 10, 12 years old. So, you know, you got 4 or 5 years on you. Suddenly it's like, oh, you know, like you're not even a teenager anymore in dog years. But you've taken upon yourself to help other artists find their voice in this format that you do. How'd that come about?
Yeah, so Firestarter, this is something that I'm really excited to talk about that we're really proud of. So like you said, the Firestarter initiative is it's a project incubator for new and upcoming creators of immersive theater. Uh, it it started when Katie Murphy, who's now our director of education, brought pitched an idea for a piece to me. This sort of fully fledged. Uh, at the time, it wasn't multi-day, but it became multi-day experience called Lovers Anonymous. That embraced what we had just started doing with another piece called On the Serenity of Oranges. With multimedia, you know, phone calls and video, and embracing other mediums that we'd used in the past: text, email, recorded audio, recorded video, etc. And at that point, Katie had been performing in a piece that I wrote that we'd been running for a while called Next Time, which it was the sort of you know, joyride comedy through a bureaucratic afterlife. And so when she came with this idea, I was pretty hooked. And we dove into it, and our work on that together sort of began to define. You know, I effectively, having performed in Next Time and then doing that, I got to teach someone for the first time this style of immersive theater and this sort of codification of immersive theater that I put together back in 2018, and it was the first time I'd ever taught it to someone. And after that, we realized that this could be something that we could further, you know, codify and use as a tool. The path that she went down, we could, you know, replicate it and refine it to make it an avenue by which other creators with, you know, maybe even less experience to really fully immerse themselves in what creating interactive theater is, because there's so much, and any you know, creators of or lovers of or whatever who listening, like, no, there is so much that goes into creating any immersive piece, any you know,
Right.
no matter what you're doing. There's so much to consider, and it's so, most of the time, so different
Yeah,
from.
it's kind of like a blank slate, right? You know, you get this like, you know, the ultimate version of, you know, the empty space.
Yeah.
It's the empty world. You know, there you can go in any direction when it's experiential, and so just sort of picking a lane and where to start and giving people some limitations has actually got to
It's
like help folks with the creative process.
Yeah, it's the only art form I can think of where you pretty much literally have to start from scratch every single time, because the form and the content are so kind of inexorably linked that you're recreating the rules of the space, the magic circle, every time you do it. You know, there's no convention except the one that you create and establish. You know, and from there, from realizing that this was a codifiable thing, we had our second Firestarter piece, who was our first kind of external person, James Labella, come in and write a piece called "I Cut Myself Shaving and It Bled So Much." And we are now, and then Katie created another micro experience called Leo Season, and we are now in the middle of Firestarter installment 4, which is going wonderfully well.
One of the things I tended to find back when I was teaching theater is that I started to understand more about the craft by trying to explain things or trying to lead people through stuff. What do you feel like you've learned about immersive and about your particular type of immersive by taking on the role of mentor? Just easy questions today, Evan. I just want to take a meatball and put it on the plate. I'm going to tee it up for you. You know, I'm not going to jump out of the shadows and be like, I want you to think deeply about your craft.
No, it's such a fabulous question. Because these are things that I'm constantly thinking about, and the tricky part is just like the tricky part with Firestarter is just putting it all into words, you know, because that's the thing is I've only ever really had to do this in the interior, do this kind of in my own head, more or less, and not really explain it.
Was there a particular moment? Was there something like where you like to get on that because you're dead on right? You know, like that moment where you know you have to get it out of your own head and into someone else's, right? Like, can you think of a moment where something clicked for you? Like in that process, I mean, this is hard to like put someone on the spot this way, right? You know, but is there one that stands out?
Yeah, I think there was kind of a particular moment. When I was working with Katie on Lovers Anonymous, I you know, there had been times where I endeavored to explain stuff before, and sometimes some things went, you know, better than others. But in that moment, I realized, you know, immersive, specifically the kind of interactive work that we do, lends itself to baptism by fire. So the best thing to do, what we've done with Firestarter is we have a development phase, and then as soon as humanly possible, as you know, within reason, we have a workshop. We have a workshop where it is the piece is you know, taken by an actor or a number of actors, and we go through it, and sometimes there are these sort of beautiful moments that work like gangbusters, and other times there are moments that completely fall on their face. But getting to see, you know, immersive is so transient and so kind of indescribable that really, you know, even in development, the best way to learn how to do it is to play with live ammunition and to see the results of what you're doing happen in real time. Yeah. I think any feedback coming from a place of having sort of seen the result is infinitely more helpful.
That makes a lot of sense. Like, I mean, I always say, you know, immersive, you know, doesn't survive contact with the enemy, as it were, right? Like, no plan. You know, like you don't really know what a show is until you've put it up on its feet. Like, everything is theory until you put the audience in, and then it just changes completely. And in so many ways, it's also a good litmus test for whether or not you are making this kind of work, is if you put the audience in and you don't have to change anything, you might not be actually creating, even on the level of just traversal stuff, right? Like if maybe we're talking about a piece where the audience has no verbal agency, can't change the story at all, but they can wander around and just take different angles. And if your choreography isn't changing because of that, right. And you know, if in what you're doing, if the presence of someone on the other end of the phone isn't altering what's going on, then it's like, oh, this could be a radio play.
Right. You know, that's one of the things that's one of the main criteria to, you know, the way that you apply is you sort of submit a miniature, kind of a fragment of a treatment through the website as an application, and the prompt for that is readily available on our website. But criteria number one is the participant or participants must be critical to the narrative. Not just their presence has to change things. They have to be a central point. or it's not right for Firestarter.
Yeah. Oh, and it's good that that's like right up front. I mean, I guess, have you, I mean, not to like pull out the laundry and start going like, where is this scene? Have you had a lot of people just like drop off what would make good radio plays and pitch that stuff? Or is
Oh
that,
yeah.
are those,
Oh
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We've had we got a fair number of pitches this last round, and looking through them, we had a shorthand after a while of looking over something, and it plays in the head as you read it. You get and you look and you're like, okay, this is a pretty fantastic story maybe, but what am I doing here? Because Jacob, Katie, and I, the leadership of Candle House, when we're looking through these pitches, we basically what we try to do is put ourselves in we experience the treatment as the pitch as a participant.
Yeah.
We start doing that from square one.
That framework alone, what am I doing here? Right? That question is so key. I mean, so many times, like we have this thing on Everything Immersive, right? Like on the website where we ask people like, what is the audience role? Right. And like, someone oftentimes like, sit back and enjoy the show. And like 9 times out of 10, I get to just reject those. Right. It's like, you don't get it. Like I think I might add in as like, the suggested text or like something next to it, like as we revise that process, audience role, or maybe just comes up with the audience role on the user end, but that the question is like, what is the audience doing here? Like, which is, the long form way of asking what is the audience's role, but not everyone clues in on that. It's so succinct. What am I doing here? Can you answer that question? That's so good. Like breaking these things down, trying to find a way to like, I just said learn someone this, trying a way to teach someone this, trying to learn you how to do immersive, helps us define what the thing is itself. Pivoting gears again, I promised 3 things in here for folks. And the third one we're turning to is indeed something that this weekend when this drops, if you want to, you'll get to hear a lot about, which is Lennox Mutual. We've actually recorded a number of what are going to become bonus episodes here on the cast, or bonus segments on the cast, which will be coming out not too long after this, with the review crew and with you and one of your collaborators, all about this show. But we wanted, because those recordings went so deep into the lore so quickly, we wanted to give some framing here for folks. And I just wanted to reintroduce Candle House to the collective as a whole, your collective to our collective as a whole. And that's this wonderful show you've been doing, Lennox Mutual, which is your first serialized show. And I guess start us off again with the top level pitch of like, what is this show that my staff is obsessed with?
So Lennox Mutual, like you said, is a serialized, or as we call it, an episodic piece of performance art in the form of what looks like a customer service phone tree. As with a lot of our pieces, it's performed live via phone call for an audience of 1. It is at its core an interactive, kind of genre-bending, what we call a theatrical assemblage. That theatrical assemblage art, because it borrows from. It's an easier question, I think, to ask, like, what isn't Lennox Mutual? Just because it has sort of pieces of it in a lot of places. It borrows from text adventure, alternate reality games, therapy, customer service calls, tabletop games, guided meditation, traditional theater, to name a few of the things it pulls on. It's both, in equal measure, it's sort of self-driven and custom curated. And it evolves over a series of multiple calls. No 2 calls are ever going to be identical, and no one is ever going to experience all of it. I think I think I'll leave it there, except to say it's designed for other pieces we've done have been, designed for horror fans or comedy fans or this. I think I would say Lennox Mutual is designed for anyone curious enough to spend 20 minutes on the phone with us and see what happens.
And that the way it plays out is you have that first call, it is 20 minutes. And what's been interesting, here with the staff with NoPro, because like there's folks who have long been huge fans of y'all. And when you first dropped it, they were like first in the chute to like go through. And it sort of became this like dividing line. Like some people got super into it, dove deep, keep diving deeper. And some people, particularly folks I think who are seeing, on some of the first calls that were happening, bounced off. And I think a few of them have come back around and done a second call, a few months later, particularly as some of the team members really talked it up. But it seemed to be really divisive. Was that something you sort of saw in your audience, at least at the beginning of this process?
Absolutely. It was among pretty much everyone. There were no, to my knowledge, there were no really neutral reactions to it. What we got were, I guess I wouldn't know if there were a few, but for the most part, the reactions we heard were either, fascinated and wanting to dive back in and dig deeper into this thing that, into under the surface of this thing, or people who were almost offended by it, I think is the right word. People who were offended because, I think it's our reputation serving us a few different ways there, because you said at the beginning we have a reputation for taking things a little more intense, and Lennox Mutual doesn't necessarily begin with the same kind of intensity.
A massive tone shift, I think, from what people normally expect from you.
Right. The experience, especially when it was first released, and it's evolved on all cylinders since then, very, very much. But when we first dropped it, so to speak, I think it drew some people in like crazy and alienated other people like crazy for the same reason, because it was so different from anything else we'd done. And at the time, that we weren't just okay with that, it was actually kind of the goal to be like, yeah, not everyone's going to respond to this first call, and that's fine, because the people who do, the people who come back, the people, it rewards the return, it rewards the investment, and whatever that investment looks like for you, because truly, whatever your type of investment, this is also the first experience we've made where other experiences are designed to accommodate any type of investment. This one is designed to be a playground for any type of investment. So no matter what way you want to engage with it, Lennox Mutual's got something for you.
When did you know, because of that initial reaction, and some people really into it and some people bouncing off, when did you know that it was working, when in your process of, getting that real-time feedback, because you're playing with live ammunition, as you say, when did it click? When did you say like, oh, we've got it now? How long into the process was that?
So there's a Reddit community for Lennox Mutual, and that started to kind of light up with a lot of question marks, and people were, and again, they were not, these were the people who came back, but even those people were confused. They said, okay, I'm not totally sure what this is yet, but I know there's more here. So they tried again. And we at the beginning, but before the Reddit, became the size it is now, watching it grow and watching kind of people slowly key into what was happening, I think there was a moment where Joel Myers, Olivia Bear, and myself, Joel and Olivia are my two collaborators on Lennox Mutual, when we all realized that that it had this sort of that people were responding to it when those question marks started turning into realizations or started turning into conclusions or more questions even. But I think there's a difference between a question that's sort of satisfactory and then a question that opens doors. And a
What do you
question
mean by
that's
that? Like a question that's satisfactory and a question sort of like a question. When you say question that's satisfactory, do you mean like one that has an
so
answer?
a question that's satisfactory might just could be what am I doing here, what's the point of this, versus a question that
Mm.
opens doors might be, I heard this thing, and this is what the purpose of Lennox Mutual purports to be, and I heard this thing, and how are the two related? So that you can play in that way. It's that's the part of it that pulls from alternate reality game, if that's the way you choose to play it, if you choose to play it at all rather than experience it or let it happen to you or investigate it's one of many. So I guess there wasn't one moment, but over time it was just this gradual feeling of, and especially as the experience grew and changed and adapted, it was this feeling of, this is a sentient thing. This is something that is not that. Yeah, the exterior may be difficult to, you might not be able to see the front door on the house,
Mm.
but until you find the door, it'll at least be interesting looking in through the windows.
It's funny you should say that, because like as you talk about it being a sentient thing, I start to get flashbacks to the early days of ARGs and the way the folks who created the ARG for the movie AI, which was known both as Cloud Makers or as the Beast, depending on which side of the board you were sitting on, or when you encountered it, and how they had planned months of material, and the audience like busted through it in like days, if not hours, and then suddenly they found themselves just racing to produce, because it had taken on a life of its own. And has that entered into your process here, or because it's so, you've got this Reddit group mind going, but also people are encountering this as individuals, like they've got their own journey here? Is it shaping your development of this material in that same way?
I think yes and no. Because this is a, without being too clear about anything, because we can't have that.
No, yeah, no, we don't want to do that.
Right. I this is a journey with at least one destination, and we
Mm.
wouldn't it wouldn't be here right now if it weren't headed somewhere. But in terms of the literal day-to-day, or I should say the call to call, it's constantly adapting, it's constantly changing and improving, and stuff is always being added. Frankly, I'm not sure if stuff will, as long as this is running, I'm not sure if stuff will ever stop being added, because it responds to the people that use it. It is it we and not just responds. I think it grows with the people who use it, because at this point, Lennox Mutual has been running for almost a year, and we have, for the folks who have been with us since near the beginning of that, we've gotten to kind of grow with them. There's no kind of about it. We've gotten to grow with them, and we've gotten to, and Lennox Mutual has been able to expand and adapt to them and make space for them while also sorry, you were going to say something.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Make space for them while also beckoning them in deeper.
I dig. So for those who've gotten curious, again, what's the commitment here? Because the way some of our staff talks about it, it's like I think some of them are on their 20th call, but like, what's the actual commitment when it comes to dipping your toe into the Lennox Mutual pool?
If we're talking dipping your toe, 20 minutes of your time, and pay what you can, starting at $5. It's
it would be up to the ankle then. Like how many calls do you think someone can kind of walk away with, like, oh, this is like an arc, or this is like an act or a chapter or an arc. Yeah.
One of the central points of Lennox Mutual is at the end of every single call, minor spoiler alert, sorry, at the end of every single call, there's a question. Do you feel like you spent your time wisely? And the answer to that might be yes sometimes, it might be no sometimes, and sometimes you might have no idea. But I think the question that should guide that question of what is an arc, what is a complete circuit, is how much time do you feel like it's worth? At the end of a call, do you feel like you spent your time wisely? And if not, and if so, come on back. And if not, what does that mean? Did you not spend your time wisely because of the choices you made? Did you not spend your time wisely because of what was given to you? Do you feel like there were things being hidden? And, so even then it's another question of, if you don't feel like you spent your time wisely, okay. But there's always a chance to try again.
That's nice. I like that. Always a chance to try again. A game of second chances, as it were. Well, Evan, we spent our time wisely with you today. I will say. Well, at least I know I did. For those who want to connect in, for those who want to check out Lennox Mutual, for those who want to catch up with what else Candlehouse is doing, where should they go?
You can find us at candlehousecollective.com on a web browser near you. You can find us at Candlehouse Collective on Instagram, or Candlehouse Coll, COLL for collective at the on Twitter. Our website is the best place to get is the place to get tickets, the place to submit for Firestarter, and our Instagram has the most up-to-date information about what's on the way.
Fantastic. Evan, thank you again.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Once again, I want to thank Evan for being our guest on the show this week. Check the show notes to see how you can grab a ticket to Candlehouse Collective's latest works. Something I didn't mention at the top of the show, mostly because there was so much to read, is that Evan is one of our speakers at the Next Stage Immersive Summit this year. Evan, along with Jacob Leaf, will be talking about Candlehouse Collective's unique business model as we put a spotlight on how creators do what they do in a sustainable fashion. Evan will also be talking on our Intimate Immersive Creators Salon. What's the actual name of that thing? I know it by what I have in my brain, and not necessarily the name that we gave it for everyone. Here we go. As I go through the schedule. No, not that. No, yes. Nope. Yes. Okay. Creating Intimate Immersive Experiences Salon. Ooh, it's one of the salons. And that's got folks from Whisper Lodge. It's got Siobhan O'Loughlin. It's got folks from Tales by Candlelight, along with Evan. A really good group of people who very much know their way around creating intimate immersive experiences. And because it's one of our salons, it means it's a participatory session. So don't expect to be sitting back and listening. Expect to be talking with everyone as part of it. Again, all that's coming up June 2nd through 4th, which is basically here, which is why I'm increasingly unhinged. Check the show notes. You can get your badge if you haven't already. This is another short week. And possibly, maybe this weekend, that bonus material will pop up. Maybe it'll just pop up randomly at some point in the feed, because there is a lot to be done as we hit the road to the summit. Just oodles and oodles and oodles of work. And I should probably go rest up a little bit. I'm recording this on Thursday night, and there'll be more to go. It doesn't stop, y'all. None of this stops. It just doesn't stop, which is good, which is great. We've actually, one of the things I did this week was I recorded a whole bunch of podcasts. So all of that's in the can pretty much through the middle of June, so that we can have a breather. Literally taking us to, I think, episode 395, which when I put that one to bed, I was like, oh, we're getting really close here, aren't we? We're coming up on episode 400, which is just a little wild to me. We always hit the 100 anniversaries in July, so that's coming up real quick here, and yeah, we're gonna get to do that. At the very least. I can guarantee you that much. We'll get to episode 400. What happens past that? I have no idea anymore. Patreon.com/NoProscenium. Okay, anything else from here will just be increasingly unhinged. And even though we're just like 42 minutes in the episode, that's it for this week. That's it. I'm sparing you any more of just whatever might just come out of my mouth next. Mostly because I'm just procrastinating now. There are things I'm supposed to go do, so I'm going to go do them. The associate producer of this podcast is Parker Sella. Music for No Proscenium is by Chris Porter of the Speakeasy Society and Solar the Podcast. Special thanks to Siobhan O'Loughlin for voicing our intro. This madness is mine. I'm Noah Nelson, and until next time, I'll see you at the show.